Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Your Morning Drive. I am the host with the most, Logan Lewis. It's great to be with you. Your Morning Drive is brought to you by the Fireworks Studio, Fireworks Co-working in Marietta. If you want to use this space as much as I do, use code DRIVE when you book with them at checkout, and you get a free day pass. Or if you want to come see the space, meet the staff, tell them Logan sent you, and they will hook you up with that free day pass. So what's the what's the worst that could happen? As always, I always say follow on the socials: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. That's where you'll get clips, behind the scenes information. Everything else that comes with social media goes on those platforms. So everything is just at Your Morning Drive, as well as Apple, Spotify, YouTube. If you're listening, watching, whatever you're doing, make sure you hit follow, subscribe, whatever the button that you have to click to make sure episodes come out and you get notified for them. So just go ahead and do that on whatever platform you're listening on, and we appreciate that tremendously. After recovering from chronic illness in 2015, my guest today sold everything she owned to live across 35 countries in 5 years. Fascinated by culture, she returned to the States with a deep desire to shape her local community. Now equipped with training from an Emmy-winning ad agency, she helps brands adopt a sustainable growth strategy and grow their loyal client base in ever-evolving and competitive markets. Please welcome my new friend, Christy Renee. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for being so game to do this as fast as we were able to put it together. I appreciate it.
You know, it's really good timing. We're here to talk about a story, and I've had a significant win relating to my story. So, with things like scheduling, I always love to trust the timing because it seems to work out. And I'm glad we were able to get me in here this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited. It's definitely going to be like most podcasts for me anyway, podcast is the highlight of the week. So whenever I get to chat with anybody, it's just a really cool time for the week. It's a nice, break from reality just to get to hear someone else's story for once. Cause you feel like you're just living your own story. As weird as that sounds, like all day, every day. And like the other day, who said it? I think it was my mom that said, like, do you ever just think about how when you're driving around and you see all the other cars, all the other people, they're all just living their own life. And it's like kind of odd because you're like, all I know is me. But everybody has a story, and that's kind of like become my whole thing. And I know you're passionate about storytelling and everything, and so it's just interesting to like walk around and be like, wow, everybody has a story for real. Like however many people are on this planet, we've all got one.
I do have those existential thoughts at times, driving and looking over, and they're going through their life having as many problems and wins and victories and internal narratives as I am. That's one of the things that I love most about storytelling is that at its core, it's a connection moment. And even you're not even hearing somebody's story, but you're imagining them, and you feel a bit more connected even just in doing that.
Yeah, very well said. So I gave you that introduction, and there's a lot of stuff that we can unpack in that. But I want to know, before we get there, I want to know, like, who are you? Like, where are you from? Parents, siblings? What's your where'd you start in life? Yeah, give me the origin story of Christy.
So every great story is a story, a journey back home. The hero's journey that we use as a storytelling arc is essentially a hero's journey back to home, back to peace, back to promise. And this isn't the first time today I've been reminded that that is my story as well. I grew up 15 minutes down the road from where we are now. I went to Lassiter High School. Could not wait to get out of Marietta the second that I was able. I went to Georgia Southern University. I studied very hard there. It had the best design school in the state, interior architecture and design. I defended my choice for 4 years. I was accepted to UGA. I chose here. This was my school. This is my path, only to graduate college as a design student straight into the recession. The Great Recession, 2008, 2009. You could not even find an unpaid internship at the time. So that was one of my first great pivots. Still did not want to come back home to Marietta. moved to Jacksonville after that. And from there, I'm sure we'll get into it a bit more. That's when I went overseas from Jacksonville. And while that experience living abroad for 5 years was incredible in so many ways, at the end of it, I was hungry for connection and community. So in November 2019, I got the urge, the kick, the intuition, the nudge, go back home to Marietta. And I was like, no, come on, no. Like, if I'm going back home, it's at least to Florida, right? Like, I can go home to Florida. I don't have to go home to Marietta, right? I hadn't lived here in 15 years.
Wow.
I had no connections anymore, no community. And it was so clear, go home to Marietta. It's like, oh, are we sure? I ended up in 2022 buying a house 7 minutes from where my parents live today, where I grew up. And, you know, I will be honest, the first couple of years of that decision were hard. My higher self had made the decision. Now I know it was to come home and establish roots and to do some deep healing and family connection while we can, you know. But my lower vibrational self, she wasn't on board with the memos, the message. All she knew was that she bought a fixer-upper of a home and she passed her high school every day. And I've lived all these other places, and why am I here? So you ask for my origin story, but my origin story is very connected to my story today. And I don't know if anything would have brought me the foundation of what I feel is like a launch pad, being able to come back home and establish deep roots with the place that I was always excited to get out and see the world, and there has to be better than this, only to come home and realize that home is inside. And I had that.
Well, I was going to say, as you're kind of getting towards the end of that sentence there, I was thinking, like, was there such a drive? Because so you said you grew up 15 minutes down the road. You lived here your whole life up until that point, right? Up until the point where you left for college.
Technically, yes. I was born in Houston, but we were in the house that I was raised in by the age of 4.
Okay.
And like, we don't have very many memories.
Yeah, if you can remember things when you were 2, 3, and 4 years old, I would be wildly impressed.
Some people have that brain. They can. I am not one of them. Not over here.
Before you got here, I shared this image on Facebook and like said, like, if anyone is wondering, this is literally me. And it was a picture of like a Google Chrome window open with like 90 tabs.
Oh, yes.
And then like another window open with 90 tabs, and it said, "This is me." And I was like, this is why when people are like, "Hey, did you do that thing?" I'm like, forgot, because there's 50 billion things going on. So that's funny. Forgot what I was saying.
One of the tabs.
That, but,
towards the end of my sentence, you felt inspired.
Yes. Well, okay. Yes. Thank you. This is podcasting, everybody. This is what it's like. I'm wondering if you were just so hungry to get out of Marietta, and then you did that, and we'll talk about that. You did that. And then when it was time to, you know, like you said, like place roots, like figure out the next phase, it's almost like you knew the whole time you were going to end up back in Marietta, because when you're traveling, I doubt you're thinking of Marietta, Georgia, when you're in all these crazy countries and doing all these crazy things. But when you think about like, okay, I want long-term, Georgia's the place, I guess.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, the big joke is that none of us ever thought I would come back.
Wow.
I to the point that I was in a pitch competition, a business pitch competition last Thursday, and it had a spot in my 4-minute pitch. Just how much no one ever thought I would come back here. But I used it as the point that no one is as invested in Cobb as I am.
Wow.
Because I've been everywhere else. I thought I would live everywhere else. I mean, I was convinced I would never come back to the States, period. I was very offended when I found out in 2015, this is part of my healing journey, just without going too much into it, the poisons and chemicals they put in our food and how it poisons our body. And I lived through that. That's what caused me a lot of my issues. And I was like, man, you know, get out of here. I'm going to live where the food is great and the cobblestones and the architecture. So no, I never thought I would come back, but you know, wise ones like yourself probably did, because it's a great place to put down roots. And I have such a love from the land that we're from, and I think that the people that we grow here are really special. That was the thing that I could never connect like I wanted to, was with the people. And I came back home, and I haven't lived here in 15 years, and I'm just doing my thing, building from the ground up. I came back broke, jobless, homeless. Like, I built it up. And I don't think it's just because I was from here. I think it's because we have such a type of people here that genuinely are invested in others. We appreciate connection. We're resilient. We're bold. And I think we're just a little bit outlaw, just a little. We do things our own way, just enough that we have a mind of our own. And I think that that's really special. I'm biased, but I don't think that there's a better community of people.
I would agree. I moved around a lot growing up. My dad's in commercial construction, so we traveled the country quite a bit growing up. He would supervise these giant project sites, and every time the project was done and ribbon cut and everything is all good, the company would pack him up or pack us up and move us to another state, and we would do the same thing, rinse and repeat 10, 11, 12 times growing up. So, and I know I wasn't an adult in any of those places except for Georgia, but I can't imagine anywhere besides Georgia, because I agree with you. Like, the community here is so, like, it's such like there's not even a word for it, really. Yeah. It's just, everyone is just one, and everyone wants everyone to win. Everyone's there to support one another. You and whoever could be doing the same thing, and you're both sending each other business, it's just, everyone here just truly wants to see everybody else win, including themselves, of course, but everyone's just in it for everyone. It's such an interesting thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I never got involved in community or anything until I started Your Morning Drive, and I was just blown away. Even just the first networking event I went to, I was like, wow, people here like really care about each other. Like, this is so odd. Like, I had just never been exposed to that before.
Really care about each other. Truly I think that sums it up. And, Southern hospitality, you'll hear about that, but no, it's not just that. It's not bless your heart to your face and whatever else fine. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of that, but especially in the business landscape, like you're pointing out with networking, and even the meeting I had right before this, same exact thing, saying there could be two realtors in the group. We're figuring out ways where you support each other. 100%. And that is just a through line in all of these communities or business organizations in our community, rather.
I did an episode with a guy a year ago or so, and something he said to me has stuck with me ever since, and I've loved it, because he was a social media marketer at the time, and I'm also one of those amongst so many other people out here in the community that do it. And I was like, I'm going to be honest, man, I was hesitant on having you in here because I didn't want to promote someone else's business. I wanted them to come to me. And he was like, bro, there is enough food for all of us to eat. And after he said that, I was like, that is so true. And he was like, dude, and he ends up being a really good friend and collaborator to this day. So it's crazy that once you switch that mindset, instead of me, and it's still me, but also you, us as a unit, like, things change.
They do.
And they change fast.
They change very fast. I've seen that firsthand. My sites where, even though I had a draw to be local, I think it's easy just to fall in. Opportunities are nationwide. And as a speaker, conferences, a lot on the West Coast, I was applying. And really, once I turned the lens back to, envisioning so everybody gets together in the audience, they hear my message, they feel empowered of how their story, they can tap in, how they can tell it, how they can build more connection, build more growth and revenue. Okay, now what?
Right.
Like, I want to see that. I want to see the results of that. I want a thriving, flourishing community. Why am I out there when I could be starting right here? And so I switched to, let me just go see where I can donate my time, my message, get those reps in. And soon I had booked 7 speaking events in 5 weeks. That was insane. I do not recommend it. I wish somebody had told me how much goes into that. That was kind of the season I'm coming right out of. It was between February and early April.
Wow.
And it was because the switch mentality, I was me, get me these big opportunities. And I switched it to, hey, why don't I share what I believe in right here on my own time and see what happens?
Yeah. And then things change.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's so funny how the universe works, but sounds like it's working in your favor lately.
Yes, it is, to put imagery to the feeling that I've had, it has been I'm a part of this book called the Wanderlust Chronicles. Tongue twister.
Sounds very fancy. Your morning drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase.
And it's a compilation book of different, it's like Lonely Planet meets Storytelling Heart.
Okay.
And they want both. And I was in a call with the editor today. I'd been asked to be a part of it. And I picked a story of one of the times I was forced to face my fear of heights yet again. I had just pushed myself 5 times in 3 days to go cliff jumping because I was speaking on courage at Mind Valley University. Still don't all the way know how I ended up on that dream stage. 2 days before I was set to go on to talk about courage because, hey, public speaking was really scary and I'm really shy, and going up and sharing my story is actually a big act of courage in and of itself. So that's what we're talking about. I was asked by the same audience to go cliff jumping, and I couldn't say, no, I'm too scared.
Right.
See me talk on courage in 2 days.
Right.
So I had to do it.
Right.
And so I was just getting through that, and I had ended up in Slovenia with some new travel friends. I didn't know much about it. I was just on riding a high from that day. I'd done all this cliff jumping, all of these facing my fears. I was ready to cruise, and I got pulled into what they called hiking, but was basically treacherous cliff hanging.
Jesus.
It was the vertical equivalent of scaling 2 Eiffel Towers at a 30-something% grade, so that for every 3 feet, 1 foot was straight up.
Oh, God.
And I say all this to say,
It was hard.
climbing that mountain with my knuckles.
Oh, God, dude.
And the little nudges, that's what I felt like this ascent has been like for the last couple years.
Wow.
Of pivot, 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 pivot. Sure. And the message that keeps coming out from that is strengthened in the fire. And I'm feeling that. So when I say, is the universe working in my favor? Have I been doing the hard work for a long time? Both. But I bring that story up because I think that a lot of us can look, if you were to look at my social media right now and be like, wow, things are really easy for her. I wish it could be like that for me. And one of my biggest messages when we talk about sharing your story is that it can be like that for you. And the grit and the determination and the courage and the walking blindly and scaling a mountain, it's just such a good metaphor. I'm sure you see, and the people listening see those, what we thought success would look like. And then it's like, fire and
Sure.
traps and steel barbs. And,
yeah.
So I just think that it's yes and.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much to unpack here, man. Let's talk about the 35 countries thing.
Let's talk.
I am so curious. Okay, so you just so I make sure I'm getting the timeline right. So you go to Georgia Southern, you go to Jacksonville then. After you get out of college, you move to Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
And then what started that, the moving to different countries thing?
Yeah, so I moved from Georgia Southern to Jacksonville with just enough money for the U-Haul. It's so funny thinking back to those young days when money is just like empty it out to the point I forgot to have enough money to put in the gas tank. I had to call up my family like, hey, I know I never asked for money. I have a U-Haul. I don't have any gas. And I go down there because the restaurant industry was flourishing. And my partner at the time had a friend. He was in, restaurants. So we went down there, got a job in restaurants. And, It was really fun to spend the early part of my 20s, mid 20s, instead of going out and partying and being out a couple $100, being behind a nice protected bar with my friends and bartenders and making a couple $100 and having a really good night. But it stopped feeling good. And when it stopped feeling good, it was fast. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't see people who are coming in. I'm hooking them up. They're regular, they're great. So I'm giving them stronger drinks, free drinks. I've seen them deteriorate over the last couple years. So I was already starting to notice the deterioration of health and my, rising values in it. And then my health started to demand attention in a loud way. And I got to the point, I know now that it was such a simple fix. People start talking about gut health now. But back then, 10 years ago, no way, no way.
No one talked about it.
No way. I was on the back pages of Google, deep research, finding what I found. And the solution was so simple, is that your gut microbiome is called your second brain. 95% of all serotonin, which is a happy chemical, a stabilizing chemical, a good feeling chemical, is produced there. And you have good guys and bad guys. And most of the foods that we eat kill both. They say, we're going to drop a bomb to kill the bank robbers. Forget if we're killing the hostages too,
Okay, I see.
So it just kind of killed everything and gave me a gut microbiome that couldn't digest my food. And that just caused my hair was falling out, my horrible adult acne. I mean, my belly would balloon up. I could eat carrots, rice, steamed bell peppers. That was it. Very sad life as a foodie. And I lost health insurance in the midst of all that. And 2 weeks later, was sitting on my floor, back against the couch, looked down and found a large lump in my right breast. No insurance, not really talking to my family, working in a bar, already depressed. So for me, my healing journey was so profound that within a year, I felt better than I'd ever felt my entire life. And I was already having all of these feelings of discontent. I was feeling empowered from healing independently of healthcare. I just raised the amount of good bacteria that I needed and I could digest again. The world was in color again. It was beautiful and vibrant and nobody could stop me. And I came across this parable. The listeners may know the one, you may have heard it. It says, imagine we have $86,400 deposited into a bank account every day. Have you heard that?
I have not.
The story goes on to say, surprise, we do have 86,400 seconds in a day, but whatever you don't use, you lose. Nothing rolls over to the next day, and it's connecting time to money. If you had this finite amount, how would you use it? And that hit me very deeply. It's like, you know what? Health is our greatest wealth and time is our most valuable resource. And I'd been trying to get a juice bar, or food truck, or brick and mortar. It was never supposed to happen. Nothing would line up. It was months and months and months. And then one day it was like, you know what? I could live this dream now. I could just do it. I could put tenants in the house. I could sell everything and have a lot of money from that. Things are cheaper. Oh my gosh, let's try this out. And once I had that vision and that plan, there was no stopping me. It was just full steam ahead. Got down to 2 carry-on suitcases, one-way ticket. Never intended for it to be 5 years, 35 countries. But I mean, coming back from health challenges showed me just how powerful we are. And it felt like, if I can do that, traveling, that's easy.
Wow, man. I mean, okay. So much. Okay, so you had cancer?
I did not.
Okay.
And this was my first experience with the power of the mind. I had watched The Secret for the first time. Do you know The Secret?
I do.
The Law of Attraction Netflix special based on a book.
Sure.
And in it, the first thing that stuck with me was, the character that said, I get checks in the mail. I thought, oh, yeah, right.
Right.
Let's try this. I was in restaurants at the time making $2.13 an hour, then getting tipped several $100s. So there's no back pay for restaurant employees ever.
Right.
I got a check in the mail. Back pay from restaurants. That was my face. What? So when I was confronted with this, I already had the beginnings of the power of the mind. And there was another character in that documentary, that show, whatever we're calling it, where she had cancer. She said every time that she felt scared, She said, I am healthy and safe. I'm healthy and safe. So I repeated that a lot in the couple months that it took to get things resolved. I ended up having to go through what they called an exploratory surgery. We don't know what we're going to find. We don't know what we need to do. We're going to put you under and figure it out the best because you don't have health insurance, and this is what we're going to do.
Wow. All right.
And when I woke up, the first thing the doctor said to me was, Christy, I don't know what that was. I've never seen it before, but you are healthy and safe. And
That's
said those
awesome.
words back to me.
Wow.
I went,
Yeah. Right after
what?
been like, hold up.
I'm like, I need witnesses.
Right.
Did this happen? There were other people in the room.
Is this a dream right now? Where
there were other people, but that, having profound experiences like that showed me the power of the mind. It really was very empowering I can do anything. I think that had I been focused on this is cancer, this is cancer, this is cancer, I think I would have woken up with a different answer. I really do.
Wow.
I'm convinced I would have. I know I would have.
Wow. Okay. So you thankfully get through that phase. And then so where was the first stop?
Lisbon, Portugal.
Okay, so before we even get there, I know you said you bought a one-way ticket, you got 2 carry-ons. Was this something you mapped out? Or did you just kind of say, I'm going to buy a one-way ticket to Portugal and I'm going to go from there? Or were you just like, okay, we're going to do Portugal for this amount of time, then we're going to go here for this amount of time, and then do it like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. By and large, it wasn't mapped out. There were some destination cities. There's also visas to consider. So I knew that I could spend 90 days, so a total of 3 months over a 6-month period in what they call the Schengen region. So it's like, it's like basically all the good places in Europe you would want to go to, all the top destinations. Sure. And you could travel there in one visa, which is great, but your time was collected. So there were some strategic moves. Croatia at the time wasn't part of it. I'm still very glad because I was frustrated and, kicking and not wanting to leave my beautiful Barcelona in springtime. And very reluctantly was dragged to Croatia. Who cares about that? And I was so in love with how Croatia greeted me. No expectations, right across from Italy on the Adriatic Sea, the food, the wine, no tourists, no lines. It was just like this beautiful Roman architecture city, Split, Croatia. Now it's, much more popular than it was in 2015, 2016. But that even became a metaphor for me of the places with the least expectations have the most opportunity to surprise you. So.
Wow. I am so uncultured. Compared to you, I am so painfully American. Just in the regard, I've never been anywhere but Mexico in the United States. I've never done anything cool.
Yeah.
Like what you've done. Oh my God.
It was a good culturing. So I needed it.
You've seen so much.
I have.
Do you have some crazy stories? Like weird encounters I don't want to pry into your business too much. Were you were you by yourself when you were over there?
So for the first half, I was with my long-term boyfriend. Okay. We had decided to go. We did break up on that journey. And so I was single, but it's, I look through it now, and even though it's only been a couple years, I feel like I'm not a mother, but I feel like I look with a mother's lens of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the things that I did. Never want my daughter doing that stuff. But, on the flip side, it's like there's just such a community of digital nomads and travelers, and it's like a pretty well-worn route. Yeah. And so, I think I was only on a plane twice by myself. Maybe, wow. You're traveling with people, you meet somebody.
Sure.
What a time.
Wow. The relationships you must have, that's so pure to just like be on this journey, not necessarily knowing where you're going to be going next. And you just meet people along the way. And some of them I'm sure you still talk to this day.
I do.
Wow.
I do. And to answer your question about the crazy stories, one that's coming up is kind of in line with that so I was a very type A person. When I got here today, I'm like, hey, you're getting Zen Christy today, chill. That was so far out of my vocabulary back then. I
Really?
was so type A, so rigid, so with the plan, very programmed by all the typical American everything. And I was a product of school and validation and star student, and I can give you the answers and I can make a list and this, and this. So my journey overseas was undoing every bit of that.
Wow.
And within the first it wasn't the first 3 months, was it? I think it would have had to have been. So it felt, something about that journey, it felt with the amount of experiences that I have, like it feels like it spanned 10 years in my brain. So like what you saw there was me like, wait, only 3 months later, I was already in Asia.
Wow.
But I remember arriving to Cambodia. There was a power outage. I did not know what was up, but it was pitch black to the point that the driver is going like, 2 miles an hour. What are we doing? There's all these cows on the road. You can't even see them because there's no power.
Wow.
And I'm arriving. That was the first time that I was like, okay, there's so many good hostels and hotels. I'm not even going to make a plan. I'm just going to arrive. This is me unprogramming, going with the flow. And I get there, it's a power outage. They can't take cards. You can't see anything. There's cows all in the middle of the road. And you know what? I survived.
You figured it out.
I figured it out.
Wow.
Nothing bad happened. I ended up having a bed for the night, met people, had some happy water, which is fermented rice wine.
I was going to say, what is happy water and where can I get some?
It is amazing. If anybody listening has access to happy water, bring us some, because
please, whatever this is, I want it.
You need some.
Does it put you in that Zen mindset?
Oh, giggly zen.
So it's that kind of happy water.
It's just like, it is. They say, it's just fermented rice wine. It's like wine, but with rice.
Interesting.
Happy water.
Yeah, we love Zens. It's the summer of Zen. That's what people say. You know what Zens are?
Okay, now that we were saying this, yeah. Those are, well, yeah, but Z-Y-N. They stole it.
Zen miss.
Okay, so that's where that is. So Z-E-N, the ideology. But yes, the more that we said that, the more I'm like, this is a product.
Yes, this is a
habit
for nicotine product that, I mean, these things are, I saw this Instagram reel last night where these kids like were fishing and they caught a fish and then they put a Zen in the fish's mouth and then threw back in the water. And then he said, "Forgive me, Lord, I have Zenned."
Oh no.
The kids are crazy these days.
No.
So shout out to the kids and the Zens. And yeah, that's the little Zen thing. I tried a Zen for the first time on this podcast. My cousin was like, I did an episode with my cousin. He was like, "You want to try Zen?" And it was like when they first came out, and I was like, "I guess. I mean, what is it?" And he was like, "Oh, it's just nicotine. There's no tobacco, blah, blah, blah." So I tried it, and like it was not what I thought it was gonna be. Like it really it kicked my ass, honestly. Like it really like it gave me such like a, I don't want to call it a high because that's not what it was, but it gave me like this buzz that was so powerful from like something that was so small.
Yeah.
I'll have to find the clip later and just send it to you because I made a clip out of it because I thought it was funny. But I like took it out and I was like, I don't like this. I never want one of those again. But now, like if I'm golfing with the boys and someone whips one out, I'm like, yeah.
Man, stupid. Zen. They just really took that. They took that from us. I feel like Zen is more Zen than Zen is.
It might be. Maybe we should file a complaint because there's people that are living their absolute best life and they've achieved this Zen. They've achieved this Zen, and Zen is taking it from them.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll write a formal complaint about that. So stay tuned for that one. Okay, so you're bouncing all over the place. You're working within the constraints of the visas and like what traveling allows you to. What year is this too? Like when you first, was this like 2015,
2016? Yeah.
Okay. Were you overseas when COVID hit?
No, but barely.
Really?
Which I now know what. So I got that big urge, that go home to Marietta urge in November 2019. And my urge was to go home, build in-person community, and find a new career path. And so moving home and going straight into the pandemic was another, on the one hand, like, haha, joke's on you. The other, I was so grateful that I had made the decision to come home because a lot of those in my travel communities were forced to plop down in their hometowns and wait it out for however long. And I just remember thinking, I'm so grateful that I'm going through all these emotions by my own accord. And I'd moved back on my own. It would have been, yeah, I would not have wanted to be anywhere else but here. I'll say that.
Man, COVID was if you think, like, a lot of people, it's unfortunate we don't talk about it anymore because people, hated the period of time of COVID, but people often resort to talking about COVID and they always link it with like politics and stuff. But like, how crazy was that? That just one day, like the United States, the Georgia government was just like, stay home.
Yeah.
And then the United States government as a whole was just like, stay home.
Can you imagine being like 2 months back into life in America after a half a decade away?
I cannot.
What is this?
Imagine coming back and 3 months later, the planet is like, timeout. And we're going to stay in timeout for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And now we're just kind of getting back into life before or life after COVID.
One thing I can say is that I would not have been able to. So the COVID years were actually really good for me in a lot of ways. I know that was not always the case. And so I don't mean to be glib about this, but you know, what came after was really hard. The next 3 years were really hard. So I got it coming to me. But the actual COVID time was beautiful, and part of it was that forced slowdown. I got 3 promotions in 2 years at a corporate advertising agency, grew to director quickly. I would not have ever had that opportunity if I had to drive into the city and commute every day.
Yeah.
And be in person with people all day on top of all the other things. I just remember thinking, what a fast pace America got used to running.
Sure.
And, you know, the slowdown, I mean, we didn't need it like that, but I do think that a lot of us have needed that breather. And that's why you see so much more about mental health and wellness through corporate, because, wow, like, we weren't okay.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's such a good point about the slowdown that we needed, because you always hear, and you can speak to this because you've lived at 35 other places, but America is one of the only countries out there that like puts so much of an emphasis on work. And it's like, why? Like all these other countries, they have like better time off policies, better work-life balance ideas, and, all those things, better wellness. They're all more wellness minded, I think, than we are. And I don't know why that is. Why are we like that? I don't get it.
No.
I've never questioned it before.
No. I've spent a lot of time with questions like this. I will say, I'll preface it with this. If you ask, like, there's a joke. If you ask an American, what do you do? You're going to get an answer. If you ask somebody from Italy or France, what do you do? I dance. I cook. Yeah. What do you mean what I do? I have fun. I live.
Yeah.
You ask the American.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a director at an advertising
creative
agency.
Director.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Ooh, that's a good point.
I live
Never thought
for
about
work.
That.
I live for life. And so, I'm an entrepreneur full time. I'm a big fan of the capitalist environment that we have that supports enough hard work, you can make it. And that is something that, say what you will about the American dream, that is still true. You can work hard and there is that opportunity. A lot of places don't have that economic opportunity. So as much as we fantasize about better life-work balance and more simplistic life, me personally, I find a balance somewhere in the middle would be ideal. Not one versus the other, but I do think that it's because of the convenience and capitalism that we live in. Everything's a business. Speaking of COVID, things shut down. What boomed? Uber Eats and DoorDash and meal delivery and grocery delivery and Instacart. And now that's just a way of life.
Now driving to the grocery store and placing a pickup order is like a weekly habit of mine.
I'm new to that and it is life-changing.
It is, isn't it though? Oh my God.
What? What have I been doing all this time?
It's like I could just do it all on my phone in advance and pick it up, or I could go search for it and take an hour or two
Oh my
at the
gosh.
store. How did we not do this before?
I don't know, but I have to get better at the timing. And even today, I wanted to do a drive-by order. I'll have to do it tomorrow. But so I haven't found the cutoff time yet,
Yeah.
but I know that I'm always past it. So I have known that this thing exists. I've done it 3 or 4 times. I've been awakened, but my timing, I'm still like grumbling. I'm like, oh, now I have to walk around. But
So lovely.
you mean they'll just put it in my car? Now, the Instacart delivery was hard for me because grocery prices, yikes,
I've never done that. I've never done the
And
Instacart.
okay. So that I didn't know that pickup was a version of that. I just thought everybody was getting them delivered. And I'm like, y'all are crazy with how you spend your money.
Yeah.
$10 eggs plus delivery plus all that. I'm like, I can't do it. They'll just put that in, they'll just pick it all up and put it in your car for free.
Yeah.
Who knew?
It's insane. You don't even have to tip them.
And so that's part of the convenience. Going back to that convenience, and everything's a business. And I think that that makes us more concerned with what we do and being very work focused, because it's like everything's a business. This podcast can be a business, and our businesses are businesses, and we can have a side business and a business off that.
It's so funny when you talk, because like I have these thoughts also to myself sometimes, both in support of like, oh, that trash can could be a business, or that mug could be a business, that side table's a business.
Your shirt?
It is a business. I have these thoughts of like, oh, I could turn anything I do into a business. But then I also have the thoughts of what you just pointed out of like, why does everything got to be about work? It doesn't have to be about work. I think Americans like work. As much as people say that they, I hate going to work or I hate doing, I think more people love work than we actually think.
I would break that down a bit. I think yes, and I also think that our value is really wrapped up in our identity, and our value is wrapped up in it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we love to complain about it, but it's that like value,
sure.
I am this, I go here, I do this, I get praise when I'm good at this. That was, talk about story. One of the hardest times in my life was stripping away every label like that. Every wanting to jump into a new business to have an identity when I was going through this very self-actualization blossoming period halfway through the trip when I was single and I was alone. Well, what do you do, Christy? Who are you? I remember being at a women's retreat with the woman who was helping me break all these things off. Like, hey, you're just slapping these labels on you. Who are you? Like, I don't know. And I was fighting it, and I kept putting on a different label. And I remember sitting at this retreat, in the introductory, we all went around and we had to say our name and like who we were. And mine was like, I'm Christy, and thanks to Layla over there, I don't know who I am. And then the whole table erupted, and they were like, what honesty, that's amazing. And I think that being able to say, you know what, I don't know who I am, and that's all I got, was the start of me being in the seat that I am today, of you saying like things are really working out for you. And it's because I'm marching to that beat of who I really am. And I was hungry to design it from the start without knowing who I was first. So none of those things ever wanted to work out. Like this works out because I'm in that alignment. Things come easier. It's more fun. You just have to be careful to not get too attached to that value, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Total side note, I know you have a podcast of your own, or that you've dabbled, but like you have the best podcast voice.
Thank you so
you have
much.
A very great radio voice.
Thank you.
I lost my train of thought. So, okay, so back to your timeline here. So we're in COVID. We are working remote, I presume, at this ad agency. You rise the ranks pretty quickly. At what point were you like, I want to start a business? Or did things just fall into place? How did that go? I mean, coaching, public speaking, all of these things that you've got on your resume at this point, how did you get from director at ad agency to there?
The rise of AI replaced me.
The rise of AI.
I learned the term structural unemployment. It means when the economy shifts and technology advances to the point that your career is obsolete, you have been structurally unemployed. That's what happened to me. Copywriting as an industry has declined 25% in the last year and a half. And the pay rate has been chopped in half. So if going rate was if the going rate was 100,000 a year on average for a senior copywriter, 50.
And that's because of AI.
Yes.
Wow.
And market shifts, if we go a little bit deeper. Now, I'm grateful for all of this, as difficult as it was. I'm grateful on the other side because, you'll hear, if you are ever at one of my workshops or in my audience, I talk about this a lot, how traditional marketing is dead. And there's many reasons. AI is part of that, but also they were so bloated. Like, I was one of the big wigs, paid a lot of money to be creative and sit around and talk about nuances of creative things. And I'll still be one of the first to say, like, maybe that was okay then because that's the only way you could be. But I mean, the playing field is totally different now, and businesses waste so much money on marketing that doesn't connect, that's not part of it. And so I'm happy that I got forced to find something more sustainable immediately. No, did I ever think that my high paying, remote, highly skilled job would ever not be a thing? Absolutely not. But when I look back through my life, and I mentioned going to Georgia Southern and then graduating into the Great Recession, when I look back at how many times I felt frustrated and tired because the rug has been pulled out from under me as soon as I got my footing, I look back and I say, oh, that's the biggest education. That's the biggest consistent pattern, is that every time I rised at something, shifts change. You have to pivot. And that adaptation and that ability to adapt and the tenacity to just go after it and say, this is going to work because it has to work. I tried for a second to get another full-time job, and it was clear very early, like, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I had to figure out how to translate what I was doing at the ad agency, my highly specialized skill, into a business. I mean, I will tell you, 7 days before I lost my job, I, for the first time in all those years, because I came back wanting to be a public speaker, wanting to be a coach, wanting to be a public speaker.
Okay.
That was
So you
certain.
had that idea.
That was certain. And
Okay.
then COVID happened. So that events industry is dead. So that's another time the rug felt like it was pulled out. I had this amazing opportunity, best day of my life, speaking on Mind Valley stage next to Lisa Nichols, Vishen Lakhiani, Steven Kotler. What? Me? How? Okay, let's leverage this. Let's do this. This is amazing. Let's go. And then now I know that I needed to have that education to be where I am now, but I fought it the entire time. I was like, I don't know why I'm here. I was swept away. I was obviously very good at it. I was being recognized. I thought I'm supposed to be here, but it was always a wrestle. And 7 days before I lost my job, we had just been bought out by another company, telltale sign. I was too naive. I believed all their words that nothing was going to change. Oh, hook, line, and sinker. I ate that up. And I remember thinking, unlimited PTO? This is great, actually. I think, you know what? I'm going to stop fighting this. Yeah, it's time. I'm just going to coast. This is cushy. And I got called in with a meeting with my boss, who had become my boss. It was my boss's boss who rearranged things because he was like, I see the leader in you, and I don't know words like you do, but I see you do. Let's build something. So I go in Tuesday morning with the boss because we're building stuff. And then I see HR is there, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to fire Jessica.
New sponsor alert, everybody. I want to tell you about my new friends over at Value Sesh. Bang for buck doesn't always have to mean cheap quality. For Value Sesh, it means that they're dedicated to offering the best tasting Delta 9 sweets with solid potency at a totally decent price. They are a family company that loves to share good vibes, and their candy always does the trick without breaking the bank. Try their 50-count bags of taffies, pure Wisconsin honey sticks, and a full menu of signature gummies. They're federally legal, ship right to your door. What don't you like about this operation? Their gummies are great. Their taffies are great. All of their products are good. I tried them myself this last weekend, and I am a new customer. So should you. Try out Value Sesh. Go to valuesesh.com to get yours. That's VALUSESH.com so that you can try out their products yourself. You will not regret it. Value Sesh. Sesh for less.
Nope.
Damn.
You make too much money, chickadee. Your head's on the table.
So did they let you go, or did they just say, "Hey, we're restructuring, and your role is going to pay you literally like half"?
No, no.
They were letting you go.
Yeah, they like
Oh,
all the senior management. I mean, almost everybody. Now I have connections at a lot of different places
sure.
because we all work together and that
Yeah.
was great. No, that was bye. They locked me out of all
Wow.
my stuff like immediately, but it worked out for me because then they brought me, then they were like, what are we going to do? This is, I say this humbly, I mean it, but like I really did the role of multiple people there. I was all in. I did the most. I was like
Yeah, you were the
always
glue.
mentoring. Yes, I was. And they were like,
Yeah.
what are we going to do now? And after a couple months, they came back and I made considerably more freelancing.
I was gonna say they
And for
contract
half
you
the
out.
time. Yeah,
Wow.
so that really fed my first year or so of business. So it was kind of just back to freelancing. I had a lot more time, didn't know how to spend it, didn't know what I was doing, knew I still wanted to be a public speaker. But honestly, it was pretty kicked and dashed. And it was, hard to be all in on something like that and it just not be like losing your job is one thing, losing your industry.
Hmm.
I didn't know how to come back from that at first. So I definitely floundered my first year and a half.
Wow. So how do you feel about this? I bullet pointed this because I wanted to bring this up. And now that I know that, what was it? Structurally unemployed.
Correct.
Now that I know that AI did that to you, amongst other things,
Yeah.
where do you stand with AI today?
You would think I would hate it, right?
You would think.
No, but it's just like photographers when Photoshop came out. It's a new tool. And instead of shying away from it, honestly, I was threatened when it first came out and everybody was like, it can't replace you, Christy. And it can't do what I do, but that's what's forced me to express what I do differently and now teach it because it took away the perceived value, right? Like you didn't need a writer for email copy and web pages and little things that didn't matter as much. People were able to use AI and it was accessible and it was good enough and it sounded great. And it wasn't until everybody started using it that it was like, oh, barf, this all sounds the same. But then it gets smarter, we get better. So there is no, and I mean, that's just its implication in writing, right? How much time it can save. But I'm very excited. I'm working with another Cobb business right now. And with this win that I secured last week, I can invest in some of the technology that helps me develop AI employees that are running off both best marketing practices and all of those prompts that go into the infinitely accessible information on marketing and strategy, as well as I almost said patented, it's not yet, but my thought leadership, my framework, how I approach things, my align framework, the 5 rules for trust-based storytelling, my magnet framework, how to have the best, most vibrant energy. So able to program AI with the best of my knowledge to execute those repeatable tasks. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to, you asked what I think about AI. I think when used correctly, it allows us to step more into our genius instead of being inundated with just repetitive manual tasks, which when I mentioned the 7 speaking gigs in 5 weeks, oh my gosh, almost all my time was going to contracts and invoices and setting up pay links for different people. And AI could have done all of that in an hour,
Man, now you got me. Brain is running 50 million miles per hour about like the different thing because we're just on the cusp of the AI thing too. That's what's crazy. Like you see these clips now online of like podcasters as babies and like have you seen those yet? And those are great. I mean, you can take a still image and bring it to life. I mean, this is just the cusp too. So like there's no doubt in my mind that in like 10 years, maybe even 5 years, there's going to be a way for us to experience things that aren't our reality more than just a virtual reality headset. Like you'll be able to feel like the grass in between your toes type stuff in 5 years. Maybe not 5 years, maybe 10 years for that one. But like, well, this is just the beginning. Image creation. Oh, you want an emoji that has a horse riding a rocket? Here it is. The fact that that can just happen, how?
It's crazy.
It is. I'm obsessed with it.
And for anybody listening to that thinks, that maybe feels more like I did at the start of my AI journey, a little afraid of it, intimidated, not wanting to adopt it. I will say the best thing is that the data all shows that especially this new generation, Gen Z's come up, they've replaced boomers in the workforce now. Everybody kind of thought, oh man, they're going to be all about AI. We're losing our humanity. You know, I'm sure you've heard that.
Of course.
No. The buyer market of today is in demand, real, authentic connection. They want it from behind the screen. They want it digitally. They want to feel something. So AI is a great time saver. It's fun. It's kitschy. The little babies of podcasts. It's entertaining. It's mind blowing what it can do, but it doesn't replace human connection. And if anything, it has forced the need for it more. So I think this disruption is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's so weird because over COVID, everyone got real selfish all of a sudden, and there's, of course, long-term effects of, fear thy neighbor and distancing ourselves from everybody. And then AI kind of emerges after COVID ends. With the rise of this technology, I do hear more often than not, people are craving the human connection more than ever. Maybe it's that lull from COVID that's finally kicking in and AI is just the thing that's kind of like scooting it along. Maybe it's good timing, but I do think people really want the human connection right now.
They do. You see it all throughout business trend reports. You see it in the event industry space. People are tired of the traditional keynotes that they just go up there, they're paid a lot of money, they deliver a talk, and then everybody goes to lunch. They want connection cards. You're seeing more of the round tables instead of seating. They're encouraging conversation in every opportunity. And those are just some of the easy ways that you're seeing that trend change. So
you get let go and you're, like you said, you try to search for a full-time job again briefly, and you're like, it's not going to happen. You're getting contracted out by your previous employer, making better money than you were before, regardless of the fact that they're cutting your job for probably financial reasons, which is always just so ironic.
Well, better funding for the amount of time invested.
True.
My time was far
because
more.
You spent less time.
I spent far less time. They were getting me for 20 hours a week.
Correct.
For about the same or less.
You're right. So,
it's still been a financial struggle the last couple of years to get back up to that, and having my industry blow up and figuring that out. Just miss detail over here. Sorry, continue. It was bad.
No. But okay, so that's all happening. You're being contracted out by your previous employer. At this point, are you kind of starting to put things in motion to because you had that plan, right? To do the public speaking, the coaching, stuff like that, but then COVID interrupted that. Had you started, okay, I'm going to do the contract work and I'm going to use this other time to build my thing. And you started building it, I assume, at that point?
I did, and quickly realized I didn't know what I was doing. So I invested heavily, and this is a consistent theme throughout my life. And for anybody who's listening and you've ever wanted more, you want to be somewhere where you're not, invest intentionally, even when you don't have it. Find how you can borrow somebody else's money to invest in you that will get you unstuck anytime that you are ever stuck. Find somebody who's been in the seat that you are in and get their help. And that's what I did with a 7-figure systems of public speaking, professional speaking. I don't want to say course, community is a better word for that. And I've been very close at hand with some of the best leaders in the space for about a year now. And I would say that really helped me because it all made sense. Got my business license. No, I got my LLC, which is different than a business license for anybody listening. Apparently, I'm the only one that did not know that.
No
I owed Cobb County some money. I'm not a traditional. I thought it was just like occupational. I'm like, there's not. Nobody's occupying it, so it doesn't apply to me. Found out that wasn't true. So I say that to say there was so much that I didn't know, but I knew what I knew, and I went after it as best as I could. And it is an ever-evolving journey, but I'm really proud of the ascent. It has been some, because of that pitch competition last week, I have some qualitative data, since marketing storytelling exclusively, I've grown 145% over last year every month that I've marketed storytelling. So
wow.
And honestly, doing that showed me, which is why I showed up chilled out today. I was going to say Zen. That's ruined for me now. It's ruined.
No.
It's ruined. That's why I showed up chilled out today, because it showed me, hey, you're kind of like, you're doing enough. Maybe we chill. Maybe we breathe. Maybe we take it a little bit slower. Maybe we slow down a little, because I think for me, it was just my job, my industry, it's gone. I just have to do it. I just have to do it. And I think that now I'm in a place where I can slow down a little bit and be a little bit more intentional.
Did you find yourself in a place when you were just starting out, having people hire you for this or that or the other, that you said yes to everything because you were like, I got to say yes to everything?
Yes to everything. I worked for free, for promises, for praise, no, this is a great, everybody has a great idea. Yeah. Executing it, like, oh, you'll get this much money back when this is successful. Man. Yeah,
but that means I got to put up 100+ hours on the front end of that with no, I hate to say no compensation, but we all got to pay the rent, the mortgage.
And even when I knew better than doing that and I entered into another situation like that, I remember starting it like, well, I've made a mistake in the past. I have to get paid. Yes, of course, you'll definitely get paid. This is how much you'll get paid when. And I fell for that. So yes, I took absolutely everything. And
yeah, I'm going through that right now. I said yes to another thing, and I already, even just 2 weeks in, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever see a cent from this. I mean, I probably will, but there was a lot of promise. Like you said, there's a lot of promises and a lot of, oh, well, we're going to do great. We're going to do great. And I'm very iffy about it. So that's lovely. That's a peek into my life.
Well, but, I will share, not to leave it on a negative note, I will say that value can be exchanged in many, many ways. And monetary is just one of those. So as much as I'm like, I have to be compensated, there are still plenty of situations where I'm compensated, in
exposure
or AV needs at an event, and you get that, and that would be, money. Or connection is such a big one. If you're in alignment and you're, that going back to that mentality of our and us versus me, there's a lot of payment that can happen. But yes, I will, do kind of stand firmly in the sand that everybody's got a great idea, and we need to be a little bit more cautious with our bleeding heart of wanting to help people these days. Because I truly think that what makes, I alluded at this before, what makes the difference in a business being successful oftentimes, especially today, is how in alignment are you? How much is this what you're supposed to be doing on this planet because it's your natural gift and people are going to see that and flock towards it? Because going back to people want connection, it's really hard to be visible these days. The social media trends, I'm sure you know this. You said you're a social media manager. They got us hooked on the attention and then they took it away. Hooked on the promise that we can start a business and market and sales for free on social media, and then they take it away. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah, of course. So interesting the way that the universe, it likes to give you bad hands, but then again, like you said, when you get dealt those hands, the kind of person you are, whether you want to sit and sulk in it, or if you're going to say, okay, got it, move back to the States, COVID, boom, got it. All right, I'm going to pivot. And then you just turn into Ross from Friends and you're pivoting.
I know.
Yes, the greatest clip ever.
Yes, I think that, yep, I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing again.
Yeah. Ross is within all of us. Okay, so speaking, coaching, the podcast dabbling, I've seen your social media is fire. All of it is fire. How do you have the time to do it all? How do you prioritize? How do you time manage? I mean, how do you do it all? How do you have time to come here and do this with me? How do you have time for it all?
So relevant a question.
You look like you wanted to say, I don't.
No, I'm like, how am I going? So the reason that I look at that is because the mentors that I mentioned, they have 4 children and they are both professional speakers and they just kill it. So any of us that are like, I don't have time, like it falls out of our mouth because of who we're looking at and who we're learning from. Sure. And one of my biggest, I've known this, but do you ever have the experience where you know something intellectually and then you don't practice it because you only know it here, and then one day something sinks and you know it here and you're different?
Absolutely.
So that's how I'm experiencing with energy management right now. We have far more time than we think that we do. But riding the wave of that energy has been like, okay, so going in the timeline, pre-moving back to the States, I was writing for Mind Valley also. I was taking their high performance flow state podcast from all their authors, and I was being paid to translate that into blog. So when I say AI replace, AI could do that in a second. Yeah. AI could do that
overnight.
Okay. It couldn't do what I did at corporate advertising, but that stuff I was paid for, gone. But I internalized that high performance flow state type of mindset for business. And I was really good at it when I was a copywriter, when I was a freelance copywriter, when I could protect my time more. Then I kind of lost that. And I only knew up here that my energy could be more potent. But because I felt like I had to do everything, I came from that place of lack. You even mentioned it earlier when you were talking about the mindset of there's more than enough food for everyone. I didn't feel like there was enough food for me, let alone everyone. So I took on everything. I drained myself. I would go through seasons where I said yes to absolute everything. And then I'm walking around all my days like this, and everybody's like, "You're doing so great and so amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm gonna break any second," you know? Like I'm so grateful for the first quarter of this year. I don't want to work that hard anymore right now. I don't want to move that fast. We're almost halfway through this year.
Isn't that
What?
crazy?
What? I've
5
not been
speaking
nearly
engagements in
7 weeks.
7 weeks, 5 speaking.
And it's not like I had like my, tried and true. I had signature ideas. I had put it together in a framework, but I was still doing a lot of testing, right? So we'd get into a conversation. They would approach me. They'd be interested. It's like, what do you want? Custom design. So I was doing so much. Again, made me stronger in that fire. But you ask how I have time for everything. And I think that the best answer is to be so intentional with your time and energy. And I'm figuring this out right now, how to schedule it, how to do it. I think that that's the answer. Because when you have okay, so when you have some tasks in your head and you're pushing them away and you don't want to do them, and then you finally do them and they take all of 5 minutes, and you've created this mountain.
Wow, I feel attacked. But yes, absolutely.
And you spend hours of your energy thinking about these things that take 5 minutes.
Christy, I'm with you.
So,
my biggest critic, but also supporter, is my lovely wife. And I'll be on the phone with her. She'll call me. She's a teacher, so she calls me after school and we just talk briefly. And I'm just like, oh my God, I have so much to do tonight. And she's like, okay, well, I'll make dinner and then we can just kind of go our separate ways, go to the office and I'll do whatever. And so I go upstairs to the office. I sit down for like 20 minutes and I come back down and I'm like, I'm all done. And she's just like, are you kidding me? You said you had so much to do. I'm like, I did have so much to do. There was like 15 tasks. All 15 of them took 20 minutes, but I definitely my brain hypes up the amount of things rather than the quantity of those things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And if you can get into where you start to track your time, how you use it, where's your energy, it's very much like budgeting your finances. And so I've spent the last couple of months in a lot of trial and error, figuring out what's too much. I know what too much is, but being able to pull back. And so for instance, today I'm in a lull. I took a day for myself yesterday, coming back into it in my mind. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's get back into that sales pipeline. Let's get into the follow-ups. And I looked at my day, and I think because I've been so intentional in this practice and through such a hard season, I recognized, no, I can get back to those other people on Friday or maybe Monday, because what happens when they all get back to me and suddenly I have 12 open conversations out? That's too much for me right now. And I think it's a capacity and capability thing. A lot of people will sit across from me and look at me and be like, I don't need a recharge time after speaking or conversations. Okay, one, we're all different. And two, when I go up, I pour my heart out.
Sure.
And so I feel a tether of connection with the people that I'm with. I give my all. And as an introvert, extrovert, I think they call them ambiverts, maybe. I think there's a name for it. I don't know.
Person as well.
I do have this recharge period, and I'm having to give myself grace and acceptance that I went from several years working remote behind a computer for 12 or 16 hours a day into all day, every day, pouring my energy. Yes, this is what I wanted. Yes, this is my best use of it. But going from 0 to 7 speaking gigs in 5 weeks, that was a lot. Maybe we can slow things down. So be intentional with your energy. Stop making a mountain out of things, batch like things together, and be honest about what your capability is and strive for incremental growth instead of shaming yourself into doing it all because I should be able to do more.
That's the biggest. I had a conversation this morning with an old coworker, and I was like, "How are you, man?" He just moved just moved. It's been a couple years, but he moved to Charleston, South Carolina, and he's been living there for a few years, working this job. I was like, "How you doing, man?" He was like, "Great, loving the job, loving South Carolina." He was like, "But I just want more." And I'm wondering if that more is that a product of this whole, we've talked about it, the America, and it's like work. You can always be pushed harder, pushed more, whatever. Or could it be, I'm going to spin this a little bit. Could it be from us that have grown up in an age where information, work, whatever is very easily accessible with the phones always on us and everything? I wonder if more, does it come from that ease of being able to get X or Y or Z? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I feel like you're saying, does our need for more stem from the overconsumption
correct
that we have at our fingertips?
Thank you for putting it in professional terms.
I'm a translator.
You do it very well. You've done it a couple times. I'm like, damn, I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to say this, and she just spits it out. I'm like, all right.
I'm a story whisperer. I feel energy and hear thoughts. So like my entire life, I've known when two people are in a room and they think they're having the same conversation. I'm like, they're not saying the same thing. They think they are. And then it's like, oh yeah, could have told you, like little smart 8-year-old. Sure. Like, I know. But yeah, I think that the consumption rate is a big part of it. And, so now my real nerd is going to come out. I almost bit the microphone. I'm so excited. Get in here.
Here we go. Real nerd.
So I alluded to or mentioned serotonin earlier, and now I'm going to talk about dopamine. But there are 3 neurotransmitters that, in my mind, control everything that we do, think, and feel. It's serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. And a lot of times they're lumped together, and people are like, oh, yeah, they're your endorphins. They're the feel-good ones. Serotonin gives you this baseline stability, this joy, this peacefulness of I'm okay without more. So that comes from your gut. Dopamine is that rush. It's the thrill of new love or lust or like. Ooh, it's a notification on my phone. Ooh, it's the promise of exciting opportunities. It feels like a rush. Mm-hmm. And often dopamine, when we get it, we immediately want more. And what's crazy is that there's studies that have been done on this, that the magic of maybe is this idea that when we get a notification, ooh, maybe, what could it be? It's been studied, and it's shown that notification floods our brain with 400% the normal levels of dopamine. Floods our youth's brain 400% normal dopamine. You know what has the same equivalent of 400% normal dopamine?
What's that?
Cocaine.
I was going to say that, damn it. Wow.
So this idea of more, it really is what our neurochemistry is doing thanks to these devices in our hand. And since I mentioned the 3, I'll wrap up by saying oxytocin, that's the cuddle hormone. It's what you get when you hug somebody or you're with your pets or you give yourself a self-love or you make art, you create music. So there's these 3 that get lumped together, but they're very different. And dopamine is what we're getting on our phones all day, every day. And we get it, it feels good, I want more. I want more.
Wow, dude. I am confident that people listening to this will be like, holy shit, she's like speaking like, who are you, God? Like, you're just speaking like absolute just facts. It's stupid. I mean, it's great and it's incredible, and I have so much to think about later. This is one of those episodes that I do that I get out of here and I'm like, I'm doing everything wrong. But in the best way possible. Like, for example, we're talking about AI and stuff, and I use, like every business owner, I use God, how many subscriptions do you pay for different services that you use? All of them now, it seems like they've all adopted their own AI bot that, oh, you can do this or save time with that or send an invoice with this or, automation, AI, all those things. And for the longest time, except for the ones that like really stand out, like ChatGPT, like if I need something like rephrased or something, like I use that all the time. I use ChatGPT probably every day. But how I have so many more tools at my disposal that I don't even use. And I feel like all of those 15 tasks that I say, oh, I have so much to do, they're always a follow-up email, an invoice send, those little things that AI could take right off my plate, the booking of a guest, the little things that could take it off my plate, and it's just done. And I just look at my calendar and it's there and it's done. Why wouldn't I? I already paid for the service. It's just sitting there unused.
Well, I find maybe this isn't the case for you, but I'm in that same boat. But the way that everything is just disjointed, you mentioned automation, but not integration.
True.
And that's where I got stumped. And I was telling people, it's like, I'm over here in 1995 doing everything manually and just doing my in-person network and texting. Because for me, the way that my growth happened is that I had 4 revenue streams, not 4 target audiences: copywriting, speaking, advisory, coaching. So with the nature of the work that I do, I need enterprise level segmentation. And it sounds like a lot of other entrepreneurs are in the same boat. Maybe we're a team of one, a solopreneur, but we have the side hustle. We have a podcast. We have this, we have that. And not all of our people fit into this one automation of language. Right? Or they don't all connect, or if my Zoom and my calendar and all of this, I couldn't get everything to connect. Right. So anyway, I'm very excited. I think I have the solution. Stay tuned for more.
Oh shit. I will be
very affordable.
Really?
We're talking cheaper than all of them combined.
Christy, stop teasing me. You want to talk about dopamine? The promise of
magic maybe? Of maybe.
That's what's happening in my head right now.
Good. I need to make sure that it solves my problems.
Of course.
Before I put my name on it, but I am
getting involved with
so excited. Yeah, I'm in the yes. So I'm taking an AI, the AI that I mentioned that you can program the automation of losing
ads for all the time.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, so I will say that a lot of people are going after this to solve this problem in a lot of different ways. What excites me about the one that I'm seeing is that it's coming from a developer who is very active in Cobb County, all the business associations, that heart of I really care about you. Good. Has a big story about time.
A local organization.
A local organization that was built out of a similar story of triumph and adversity and pain and mistakes and messing up. Maybe I'll connect you guys. You should come on.
That'd be a great opportunity for a guest. Yeah.
I know he said that he likes to be a little bit more behind the scenes, which is why I'm excited to be involved, offering a subscription service that is then programmed. So anybody who's they use it mostly in the real estate sector. So getting together to develop it and program it in a way that works for the story-driven entrepreneur is where I'm putting in my leadership, and then we're programming this, and then I'll be able to offer that to anybody who wants it for, literally cheaper than all of the stuff combined.
Alrighty. Yeah, that's a good promise of maybe.
And we knew that this was coming. Look at me being replaced. I remember sitting there at full-time agency life thinking I could never be a business owner. I wanted to. I can't ever do this. Look how many people it's taking with specialized skills to stand out. We have a graphic designer, a developer, a web analyst, a data analyst, a copywriter, creative director. We're just talking about email marketing. Oh my God. There's so much that goes into this. And that's why a lot of the times I say traditional marketing is dead, or traditional digital marketing is dead, because think about 10 years ago. It was enough just to show up. So business owners who are less savvy, maybe they're a little bit older, tend to think, well, it is just time I start my podcast. It is time I get on social media or do more with it. No. If you're starting now, you don't have a chance at standing out.
Yeah.
So if everybody's going this way, how can you go that way? How can you really connect with people? How can you bring that to the forefront and then have the AI that helps you execute more. Anyway, we could talk about AI for a long time. There's so many implications. There's so much use, it is just.
We can put a bow on the AI thing here in a second. Someone pointed something out to me crazy too the other day of that. I was like, it seems like this AI thing just came out of nowhere. And because I remember when ChatGPT came out and I was like, why the hell is it called ChatGPT? Like, what does that even mean? But now I use it every day. So that's fun. But I was like, it came out of nowhere. And this person was like, no, it hasn't. Siri has been on your iPhone for 10 years. And I was like, huh? And he was like, Siri is AI. They just didn't market it as AI. And now Apple is leaning all into this AI thing. And it's like, oh, wow, Siri was literally AI this whole time. Same thing with Alexa. Alexa is AI. It's crazy that this shit has just existed in our world. And all of a sudden, just every tech company in the world was like, you know what? We're going to flip the switch. Now everything's going to be AI.
Well, going back to our conversation, imagine if we weren't all hustling business owners, how much would this have affected us?
Right. Like if I was just a dude that didn't do this or marketing or literally anything, I don't know if I'd care. If I am my dad, AI, oh, it's funny or it's entertaining on social media, but I'm an engineer. What does AI do? AI is not going to build a building for me.
I'm a chiropractor.
Right.
I'm in a strip mall. Everybody walks past me.
Right. I'm selling nails. I'm doing nails, selling nails. That just shows you how much I don't know about nails. But, wow, that's insane. So, did you write a book?
Yes, and I rushed it. This is funny. This is the second time I've had to admit this today. Yes, sweet. I did. And it is on Amazon, published as an ebook. I did this in 2019. It was in many ways a great exercise because it forced me to write a lot. I was also on a deadline traveling with some friends that were like, grow or die, basically. And said it, got it out. And my mentality was, well, nobody usually finishes a book anyway. And I don't really have an ending.
Really?
And for that reason, the typeface and the fact that I just chose a photo as my cover to slap it up to get it on there, because this was when I was traveling Mind Valley and I was going to be on stage. I was like, I've got to get the book up. Whatever reason, I thought I had to have that. So I have a book that's on Amazon, and no, you can't find it, but I won't tell you where it is. In July of this year, it has been on my calendar to return to that and take it. What I've been trying to figure out is that the voice that it's written in, while some of the stories I love, and I will look at the words and be like, who wrote that? That is good. I don't connect to it because it was, yes, I might have been 30 at the time, but I was a girl. And now I've evolved as a woman. That's not my voice anymore. That's not how I would approach things. How do I take what I've written and all this expertise and the neurotransmitters like we talked about? That is a very small amount of expertise that I have that I like. It changed my entire life. I always want to talk about it. Most people don't allow me the space to geek out on neurotransmitters for much longer than the 3 that we did here. That type of information goes in the book. It's for the people who are curious and want to learn and dive deeper. That's where you would have that. So figuring it out.
I talked to a business coach for the first time a few months ago. And one of the things that this person had advised me to do, and I haven't spoken to them since, for the record. I just didn't like love the direction she was trying to push me in. Maybe that's out of ignorance of like me not wanting to change. But she was like, every great podcaster has a book. Where's your book? And I was like, who's going to buy a book about me? And they were like, doesn't matter. That again, it's like saying yes to being this, saying yes to being that. All these titles and labels that we give each other. It's like, does it really matter if I've written a book or not? Like I started writing one and I was having a lot of fun writing it because I love to write. I love to tell stories, even if it's mine. But I don't know. I can't get myself back to it. But thinking about it, like, I do want to publish a book. I do want to do that. But like, I don't want to force it.
Yeah.
And it be like something that I look back on, kind of like you are, and saying like it was a good exercise. I learned some lessons with it. I would rather the perfectionist within me wants to like make sure I do it right, I guess. I don't know. I'm
I think
conflicted on it.
there's two sides of that coin, and I feel it too. And you could tell in my rambly, embarrassed answer that I gave that I feel them both too. And it is like, this is my book, it's my baby. I have a calling to have this. I said I was an author before a speaker. It flows out of me through, writing or my fingertips, typing. And even still, I'm like battling to just get it out, work with somebody, make it perfect. I don't think that there's any right answer to it, but I think that the answer lies in checking your motivations. If you're doing it because somebody else says to do it, if you don't have a clear strategy of who would buy it and why, good luck.
Right.
That's a big time and money investment. If you do it because you have a calling to get it on paper and it doesn't matter if anybody ever buys it, absolutely do that. If you have a plan, a strategy, a voice, and an execution plan to use it as a glorified business card and open the doors in a lot of ways, that's really where it is right now. And that hurts my aspiring author's heart. I grew up wanting to be an author, and now anybody can. Same. But, things just change. And that's why I think my ego holds. I have had a dream in my heart to be a #1 New York Times bestselling author. And I've had a lot of people tell me, like, oh,
you look like a best-selling author.
I mean, I just see it, I see it, but I think that the perfectionist in me can hold me back from that, thinking that it has to be more or be better or with the right people or get the book deal, which is such a big mountain that I'll never, get to that.
Sure.
Versus, well, what if I just do it now and then do it again? And then do it again and refine and get better and grow. So I think it really is coming from both places. There's the perfectionist that has a little bit of weight. There's the what's the point, which also has a little bit of weight.
Is there, because again, like author, speaker, all these titles that you do have, is there something that you haven't tapped into yet that you want to?
A TEDx talk. I want to do a TEDx talk at the right venue. What that means, we could talk about that if you're curious, but at the right venue and has all the qualities for one that would go viral or be picked up by TED.
Christy, I'm always curious. So the right venue.
Yeah, I'm part of, in the program I was mentioning, there are also TEDx coaches, and I've seen people go through, and so anybody can get a license to have a TEDx event. Schools will do them a lot of times. I was working with somebody who wanted my help storytelling. He did one with the university, and it was so ill put together that in the end, he had people walking in front of him and the camera for his delivery. That is so much time and money and investment in something that, and it was so good. I mean, that message has resonated with me. The world deserves to hear it. Now, he can always go and do it again and have them take that down if they even put that up. It's very hard to make something like that be a shareable viral message when the production is so low and when they're arguing with themselves or having time. And I've heard a lot of stories like that. So while anybody can get a license, so for instance, when I moved back in 2020, I was doing my thing right before COVID hit. I got connected to somebody that did Atlanta Bold and Brilliant Women, women event. And so when I say right venue versus just taking anywhere I can go, getting something that is a little bit maybe more prestigious or feels like such a fit that I'm like, my message belongs at that themed event, and not just going after it because everybody who's an author and a speaker has it, but sitting on my hands when I know I could go kill it and waiting for it to be the right time in the right place.
Yeah. That makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top-tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full-time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow. Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in-house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks. Christy, there comes a point in every podcast that I do that I ask the guest a collection of questions that are very first date kind of questions. We just took this time and we talked about business and AI and your traveling and just everything that you've done to get you to where you are now. I want to ask you these collection of questions to get to know who you are on just an everyday basis. Who are you as a person kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. I didn't think I'd be here past 7. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
That's not why.
We have the power of AI editing tools, so Riverside will see this and it'll be like, what is your favorite movie?
Dang, something came fast and easy, and I'm like, no, surely it can't be. It is a guilty pleasure movie from my youth, I guess. This is so embarrassing. Mean Girls.
That's a good choice.
It's so solid. It's so solid. I saw that in theaters, and I remember when it came out, and even my guy friends liked it. Oh, yeah. So thank you for the validation.
Great. Yeah. For sure.
It's so good. It's the one,
comedy.
Every time I've moved, I had it on DVD, and every time I would move in college or, apartments after that, it'd be the last thing I'd pack up. And so it's formed this bond in my memory of just, end of a chapter, start of a new one with just like good old fashioned Tina Fey and Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. They remade it last year.
Yes, I have not watched that.
I saw it in the theaters and was thoroughly impressed. Very impressed. Okay. Full-blown musical, but very impressed. My wife was like, we're seeing it. She's like, I see all these dumb boy movies. And I was like, all right, fine. And I was rocking out more than she was. I was very entertained. So,
okay, good to hear.
Yeah, when you watch it, I'll await your thoughts. What was your first job ever? First time you collected a paycheck?
Cold Stone Creamery.
Woo, Cold Stone.
Oh, yeah. Friends would come in and put $1 in the tip jar just to make us sing.
Wow. Make you sing.
You had to sing for your tips there. They put it to be like, like, hi ho, like, off to work we go, like that theme, but it was like Cold Stone specific words to it.
No way.
Yeah, like, thanks for your, I don't know. I don't remember. But
I was gonna say, you remember?
No, I don't.
Oh, man, that's fun. I love Cold Stone so much. If you found out tomorrow was your last day on Earth, what would your last meal be tonight?
Gosh, yikes. Let me drop it. Let me think. My last meal. This is somber. I don't like thinking about that.
You can assume anything you pick is cooked to perfection and peak. Like, it's not like you're going through the drive-thru and you're going to get cold fries.
Yeah.
You're getting peak whatever you pick.
I would have one of those. So it's hard to describe. One thing that I miss often food-wise is the way that they would feed you in Bali.
Really?
It's like California-esque, but Australian too. So, you would have your sourdough and avocado mash and, sunny side up egg on it or whatever, poached eggs, avocado toast, whatever. But it would be with like microgreens and this drizzle and this seed and this flour. And it's just like this stacked health food gourmet concoction.
What?
I fantasize about. They would charge you $5 for that whole thing. Like, if you could find it here, it'd easily be like a $40 dish.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. It would be something like that. I don't know exactly what, but it would just be very clean ingredients, chef, locally, farm to table, go out there, pick some things and craft it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Season it up.
Oh yeah, we love the seasoning. You get to organize a music festival with 3 headliners. Who are your headliners? They could be alive or dead. You're essentially organizing a music festival for you.
Okay. Angus Stone of Dope Lemon, who will actually be coming to Atlanta.
Ooh.
I think me and my friends manifested this.
Ooh.
Never tours the US, hardly ever. Coming to Atlanta June 13th, a couple weeks.
So you're going.
Absolutely. Very exciting. I'm really glad our friend made us get tickets then because we paid like $50 for general admission. Now they're like 300.
Damn.
And we were like, I'm not ready to do this now, you know, and I don't think we would have gone. So very grateful for that. Looking forward to that experience. Saw Mount Joy here. They were pretty incredible. If you know Mount Joy, I like their music a lot. What would be another? I feel like I'm missing like, you know, I was crushing on Tosh Sultana for a while, but I'm pretty over that. I was like, I'd want to see her in Red Rocks or something like that. I'm feeling like more soulful for number 3. Who would it be? I'll have to come back to you on that.
Okay. Okay, that's acceptable. I didn't even begin to think about how your music palette changed, like traveling to all these different countries. I can't even imagine like engulfing yourself in music from all these different places. I mean, your catalog is probably monstrous compared to the average person.
I do have some foreign language stuff pop up every once in a while, and I don't notice it until somebody else's. It's just part of it, you know. I'm singing the fake lyrics as they sound to me, all the same.
We kind of hinted about this earlier. On a day that you don't work or you decide to take a day for yourself, how do you recharge? How do you take care of yourself?
Sun, water, and clean food. I've been thinking about this recently. I'm like, what do I, bare minimum, what do I need to be my happiest version of myself? I need sunshine, some form of water, ocean, lake.
Happy
Water. Okay. Yes, I would take that too. And, you know, clean food. I really have gotten really far away from it. You know, I make the joke that every time I eat Domino's or fried chicken or something I would normally never eat, it's like, oh, give me another America merit badge. I'm more American now. You know, exactly. You know, oh, bacon. Oh, give her another merit badge. And it's fun. And all those jokes are, I've been really dedicated for the last 2 weeks to being very clean. And when I say that, I mean making homemade green juice and just fueling with as many nutrients as I possibly can. And it just makes me feel incredible. Yeah. I feel it instantly.
That's awesome. And that's how it should be. What is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given?
Okay. I thought of one. That's more of a specific audience. So let me see if another one comes back. Okay, it's not. It has to be this one. So this is more for the female audience or the men who love females. Have you ever heard how BOAT or Ford, BOAT stands for fix or bust out another 1,000. Ford stands for fix or repair daily. Well, a woman's hormonal PMS stands for please make space. And if she releases most of the things on her to-do list, if she moves space between her and the breathing man, bless you, you're probably just breathing normal. You're probably always breathing like that. It's probably us, not you. Space can be one of the most freeing things for a relationship with yourself and with a partner. And most of us try to be just like men and operate on a 24-hour hormonal cycle when women operate on a 28-day one. And so figuring out how to flow your life, going back to that energy management, I think that that is one of the shortest answers to how I have the energy. You said time and energy to do it all, because I'm working with myself instead of against myself.
That's really well said. I can't wait to send that to somebody or a few people, because that's really, please make space. That's really good. That's really good. A couple more. What is your biggest fear?
Right now, that the phone calls that I've missed And the W-9 that's not correct is preventing me every moment that I sit here from getting my grant money. What is my biggest fear? Losing the resources that I have. It is deep-seated. I think I've done a little bit of ancestral healing work in that people in my family and my lineage have lost everything at different times, the Great Depression, hurricanes, and I think I carry a bit of that. I have an irrational fear of losing everything.
Well, given all of that, I would too. Lastly, Christy, what does success look like to you?
I redefined my version of success within the last couple months. You want to hear it?
I do.
Success will be when I lay my head down at the end of the day and I fall asleep easily because all of the messages that I feel called to share feel fully expressed. They have their avenue for them. A coaching platform, a community, a book, a TED Talk, speaking engagements, conference entertainer. All of these many facets of my multi-dynamic personality feel at ease because they're not in me waiting to get out anymore.
Wow, that is so well said, dude. So well said. Christy, now I'm going to give you the place to advertise. Talk to people, tell them how to find you, where to find you, what you offer, and everything in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you've ever had a calling inside of yourself to be a thought leader, to share your story, to share your message, to have any of the things I just mentioned, I help translate your mess of ideas into something that has magnetic market positioning. If you are a corporation, if you're a business, if you're a local business here in Cobb, you feel stuck in marketing chaos, if you don't know how to connect with new customers, if you don't know how to deal with this AI shift and where you should be focusing your time, I help you connect with customers by understanding how to tell your story. I also work with leadership organizations, women's leadership, and confident communication. So how to equip emerging leaders with the well-said communication styles that get you far in life and really inspire a lot of trust within your organization and your clients. I do that kind of work as well. You can find me at my website, christyrenee.com. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube a little bit, hopefully a little bit more after today, helping me keep consistent, reminding me of that podcast, and hopefully many more platforms to come.
Amazing. Guys, I'll make sure that I put the link to her website in the description so that if you're interested in what she's talking about or have been interested at any point through our conversation today, that you can just scroll down and click the link and get to where you want to go. Thank you for getting together with me so quickly. B, teaching me, I'm going to be selfish for a second, ignore the listeners, teaching me a lot. C, teaching them, the listeners, a lot. And 4, just being a badass. And D, being a badass. It's so inspiring, all the stuff that you've done, the go-getter attitude you have, the way that you're just killing it and all of the things. It's really cool, and I'm blessed to have gotten to take the time to talk to you. Thank you so much for giving me your evening. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Guys, again, her link's in the description. If you want it, go check it out. It's going to be on all the socials as well. So just make sure you go to her website, check out what she's got going on, and support her in any way that you see fit. Like I said at the top, at Your Morning Drive on all the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.